Hey everyone, Jason here from Off the Beaten Path, and today's trip is one that I've been looking forward to for a while. Luca organised this one, and it's a little trip that's been on my list to do for quite some time. We're starting off from Devil's Hollow. I'm actually meeting up with Luca on Saturday morning. I didn't make it there Friday night, unfortunately. And Devil's Hollow, cracking campsite, just off the Dargo High Plains Road, not too far south of the Great Alpine Road, which you can see just up here. So yeah, now it is seasonally closed. Seasonal closures generally take effect from the King's Birthday long weekend in June through to the Melbourne Cup long weekend or end of October of that same year. So by the time you're watching this, it'll be out of seasonal closures. This was filmed in February of 2025, so 12 kilometres from Devil's Hollow down to the old town site of Mayford, so roughly an hour or so each way. And as I said, this is something that's been on my list for a long time to do, but being one of those trips that, you know, it's 12 Ks each way, one way in, one way out, not knowing what I was going to see down the bottom, and I had heard mixed reports. I don't want to give too many spoilers away. Let me just say, in my opinion, it's worth it. You can see the X there. If I jump forward to a newer version of the HEMA map, you can see that's now designated as McMillan's walking track. It used to be a four-wheel drive track, and it has been converted back to a walking track. Definitely no vehicle access up through there. And McMillan's walking track does follow what I think is an old line for the vehicle track, basically straight down the side of the hill, which would have been a fun drive. So yeah, that's the start off for today. Without any further ado, guys, let's get into it. Hey everyone, Jason here from Off the Beaten Path, heading off on another trip in the Grenadier. So first trip since back from the Flinders, so just going to be a short overnight trip, this one. I was actually supposed to meet Luca last night. It's Saturday morning, about 7 a.m. So I'm heading up to meet Luca at Devil's Hollow, which is just off the Dargo High Plains Road. And I was supposed to meet him there last night, but unfortunately just been really flat out with work this year since getting back. Having the full 2 weeks off in January for the Flinders trip meant that there were a fair few urgent things work-wise that sort of piled up. Look, that's just the realities. As they say, you got to pay to play. So, you got to keep working because that pays the bills and allows me to get out here. I'm going with my minimalist camp setup. Look, the weather's good, so just the stretcher with the Dache canvas sleeping bag, and that's it. No swag or anything. Same as I did on the November trip. I didn't mind that. And look, at the moment I don't have a roof rack on the Grenadier as yet. I've had the car just over a month actually now, just looking at it. Yeah, today is actually the 1st of February, so I've had the car just over a month. No roof rack yet. Part of that's deciding exactly what rack I want, and the other part of it is finding the cash to pay for it. So with the Grenadier, with the roof line, I really like the sloping roof at the front, so I'm not sure that I want to put a full length rack on the vehicle and lose that raked roof line at the front, which you kind of do if you put a flat full length rack on. I think I'll probably go for a 3/4 length rack and maintain that raked sort of roof line at the front. Alright, So after a couple of hours driving, I rocked up at Devil's Hollow. For those of you that have never been there, this is Devil's Hollow. It's a clifftop campground on the edge of an escarpment overlooking the high country. Cracking camping spot. There's a number of spots up here. They're reasonably well spaced out as well. And Luca was set up here with his swag from camping the night before, and we very quickly got underway. So this video is just down to Mayford and back. So heading down the King's Spur track. And as I said in the introduction, it's about 12 kilometres each direction, so an hour or so each way. Chances of the Grenadier making that sharp turn in one lock, not that high. Very quickly underway. You can see there's another access track to another campground just on the left, right on the edge of that escarpment. It is a cracking place to camp. Obviously you want to choose your time or your days where you choose to camp up here at Devil's Hollow, because if the wind is up, it's a fairly exposed campsite. So the track is pretty level for the first probably few kilometres, probably 5-6 k's, and it's a pretty easy drive. In fact, this whole trip down to Mayford and back is certainly at the moment a pretty easy drive. So this was recorded in February of 2025. And yeah, making pretty good time. I think if it had been a little wetter than it was when we did this, some of these sections could be a little bit soft at times, but generally speaking the track's going to be in pretty good order most of the year round. And you do have some great views off to the left most of the way along this sort of cliff top. I think I must have picked up a stone just there. I didn't actually hear that when I was driving, that sound coming through on the recording, but I did lose it. So wasn't something that I stopped and checked out. And yeah, still working our way along the top here. A lot of dead wood and sort of dead looking trees. This area was heavily impacted by the 2019-2020 bushfires, which a few years ago now, but it certainly leaves a mark on the landscape. And just gradually starting to descend. So this track runs along the edge of the escarpment and then down to the end of a spur basically, and then works its way down the end of that spur. Starts off with a sort of a gradual descent and then eventually gets reasonably steep. So starting the proper sort of descent now. Now this is a cracking drive. I had heard sort of anecdotally that it wasn't worth the effort and that it wasn't a real good spot down the end there. I didn't experience that. I had heard Aussies and things were really bad down there. We didn't spend a lot of time down there, but there were certainly plenty of people camping there. And maybe it depends on the time of year that you go. But to me, this was a real hidden gem that we found, and I think a few people know about it because there were certainly a few people down there camping, that's for sure. And if you were looking to camp up for the weekend alongside a river, there are certainly worse spots you could choose to pull up in the high country, that's for sure. And as I said, the track is in pretty good condition at the moment, and it's not what you would call a difficult drive down. So getting into that sort of proper descent now. A few sections like this that have got a little bit of track damage, but nothing difficult, nothing to be concerned about. Like every track, I think it could be a very different story if you were looking to try and drive back up out of here in wet conditions. Ran a little bit of water there on the track. Must have been a spring or something, I suspect. And you can see here it's your typical high country track. A little bit of a drop off on one side, hill on the other, with the occasional hump on the track to divert water off the track and try and minimise erosion. Even in this section, the track itself is in pretty good condition, and you can hear there I'm basically just letting the car do the engine braking to maintain speed. I'm not using the brakes a lot, and I do get really good engine braking with the Grenadier, even though it's an auto. Simply a matter of flicking that lever across into manual mode to hold the gears. So I think you're getting the picture here that it's quite a long descent. I do think, as you'll see a little bit later in this video, that the current alignment of McMillan's walking track is where this vehicle track used to go once upon a time, and that would have been a much steeper, more interesting drive, and I think they've moved this alignment to make it more manageable. You will see a note if you've got the HEMA map pack on the map of some steep sections. I wouldn't really consider any of this super steep. Again, were you looking to drive up here and it was wet, it'd be a little different. The obligatory switchback here that you see on so many high country tracks. Probably see there, this section of track in particular probably has a little bit of a clay base, and would definitely be prone to being slippery when wet. So we got down to the valley floor here, and I was a bit lost, which is why I appear to be driving off the road. I could see the river and what looked like some campgrounds down here, and it didn't look like to me that the track was going to go down here. It does, so there's no need to take this track that I took. You can actually stay on the main track. But yeah, it was my first time down here, and I could see this area down here right up to the river, and was keen to check it out. And it looked like a cracking camping spot, and it just I believed that the main track was actually going to continue along on this side of the river, and I wanted to get down here and have a closer look at the river. So a little bit tight. Just coming around the river now, and when I got here I actually thought that track on the other side was the bottom end of McMillan's walking track that goes up to Dinner Plain. It is actually the continuation of the Mayford track, or the King's Spur track, but I thought that was probably the McMillan walking track and that the main track was further down, which is why I randomly turned left in the river. One of the reasons, anyway.
Dargo River.
One, there was a nice parking spot up on the bank here on some rocks and some gravel.
And just down here in the river, cracking little spot. Cracking spot. The track goes a lot further, and over the other side there, that's the old track that used to link up with the Dinner Plain track, but not anymore.
Yeah, so that's not the old track, as you can just tell from that recording. That's what I thought, but we pretty soon realised that this is actually the main track, and we hadn't actually found the bottom end of McMillan's walking track just yet. So yeah, quickly turned around and jumped on this track to continue the journey. So the topo maps did show clearly. I was actually going to go and look for the track on the other side of the river, and we very quickly realised that no, there was a river crossing here. This was the main track continuing on. Quite an easy drive along here. Some nice views, a little bit hard to see from the camera mounted on the car, but you're up above the river here. The river's down to the left, and there were some nice views to be had. You can see we're coming up on another one of those obligatory switchbacks. Myself as much room as I can grab to get the Grenadier around this corner. Some glimpses of the river there through the bush, and just managed to make that on one lock. Back down here in the base of the valley and just coming up on our second river crossing. None of these were particularly deep at the time that we did them. Nice little steep exit here. Some small wombat holes starting to form there, but yeah, the Grenadier just crawled up and out of there quite nicely. just continued on, working our way down the valley. I was keen to see what we were going to find. And again, you can see the track through here is also in really pretty good condition. And we've come up here on another river crossing. There are 3 or 4 to get down here, and some footage from Luca making friends with the wildlife. Yeah, nice easy shallow crossing, this one, with a pretty easy exit on the far side as well. Wet spot there on the track, but nothing to be overly concerned about. And coming up here on what must be our 4th river crossing. Now, this one did have a couple of rocks in the middle of it. One in particular there, just near the left of the vehicle that I'm going around, that if the water was a bit deeper, you may not notice, and could definitely get some vehicles into trouble, that's for sure. Rut there developing on the track. And yeah, it looks like what could be a bog hole there on the right hand side when weather conditions are a little different. Somebody perhaps lost a piece of firewood there.
So just down here on the Kingspur track, on our way to the Mayford Old Town site, and this is, as you can see on the sign there, Macmillan's walking track. Now that used to be a vehicle track up through there. Used to connect up to the Dinner Plain track. Very old watchers on my channel might remember one of the first videos I uploaded of the Dinner Plain track. I looked at the other end of this. It's been closed now for several years, and now it's just a hiking, walking track. Not even a very well defined walking track, to be honest, looking at that.
So yeah, that was something that I was keen to find and just see where the alignment of that was. And now we're heading through the valley, so we're down at the Mayford town site, which was down the end here. And as you just saw on screen, I was definitely getting Wonnangatta vibes. This was quite a surprise, this really nice, level, open, grassed valley. You can see a few vehicles on the right hand side camping on the banks of the river. This is a cracking little hidden gem in the high country that, I'd never really heard people talk about a lot. If you're looking for a destination camping spot where you want to just set up for the weekend, I think this could be one of the best spots to find in the high country. I really do. Access wise, you're coming in off the High Plains Road, fairly close to the northern end of it, and you've got a 12, maybe 15 k's from the High Plains Road, 12 k's from Devil's Hollow run to get down in here, and you're probably going to be able to find a spot somewhere along the river here. much bigger, flatter, more open area than I was expecting to find. That's for sure. Fair few suckers that are starting to take root and grow up in some sections here. That's actually Luca up ahead of me there where that dust is. Some random tracks there through the grass, but looks like most people have actually stuck to the marked track, which is good. And right down the end here, there is a sort of little campsite tucked in right at the end of the valley on the banks of the river. There was somebody in there, so I didn't feel the need to go in there with my camera rolling and film their campsite and everything. But yeah, cracking little campsite tucked away right at the end there. Luca drove in there and turned around just to see how far the truck went. You can probably just make him out turning around there.
Yeah, no worries, go past if you want. So looking at that hill over there, guys, you can see that track working its way up there. That is McMillan's walking track now, and it's used to be a vehicle track that connected up with the Dinner Plain track that's up on top of that ridge up there. Would have been an epic track to drive back in the day, but yeah, these days just a hiking track, unfortunately. Looks like it was pretty steep, and they obviously deemed it, you know, unsafe. So yeah, down here at the Mayford Old Town site, it's a cracking little spot. I reckon this is a gem. There's a few people camping down here, I'm not surprised. Now the river here, I believe, is the Dargo River. Let me just double check that. Yes, it is. It's the Dargo River. The truck down here is in really good condition. Like a lot of steep tracks in the wet, I think it'd be a whole different ball game. It'd be slippery as. You wouldn't want to come down here on a weekend to camp when you're expecting rain at the tail end of the weekend and you're going to have to drive out. Yeah, you might find yourself staying another day because getting out could be challenging, but in dry conditions, nice, easy drive. You can see how they would have had a town here. I mean, it's obviously been cleared. Yeah, just another one of those gold mining towns that's just disappeared like Grant, that there's nothing left. And you know, this is pretty remote to get to now, let alone back in the day. So anyway. Now just over there, that is the bottom side of McMillan's walking track. Let me show you on the map here, if you can see that. Comes down off the King Spur track that we drove down, and I would bet money that that's the old alignment for the King Spur track. I reckon it used to come straight down here to Mayford and they've changed the alignment. Yeah, that's just a walking track now. The bottom end looks like a vehicle track. Again, I think that would have been a fun drive, but yeah, it's now a walking track only, not a vehicle track.
Just making our way back there through that river crossing. Now obviously you can probably tell by how much there is left to go in the video that I didn't film the entire return journey. coming up on the next crossing here. Cracking day to be out and about too, it was. And yeah, back to that first river crossing. Reasonably steep entry exit on the far side there. And yeah, this particular time the crossings weren't particularly deep. Just enough to wet the tyres, really. And with those couple of little river crossings out of the way, it really was just a case of making our way back up the track that we came down, which was in pretty good condition. Stayed on the main track this time. As you might recall, on the way down I took that shortcut because I didn't think this main track connected up with this area here. And look, you know, if you didn't want to go all the way in, you could probably set up and camp here as well. I'm sure people do. So just barely squeezing around that little corner there. Yeah, I didn't feel the need to show you the entire track getting back to the top, but one thing I did want to show you up the top here is just as we come back up onto the plain. Now I missed it on the way down. I was looking for it, but just didn't actually see it. It was a little more obvious coming back this way for some reason, and that is the top end of McMillan's walking track. So you saw just down at the Mayford Valley there, we saw the bottom end of it, and the top end of it is just up here. You can possibly just make out that sign there.
So you can see over there, we're at the top of McMillan's walking track now, where it joins back onto the King Spur track. So over this way somewhere is where it goes. Not super obvious. Maybe down over there. Clearly been a very long time since it was a vehicle track anyway. Some spots here used as probably good little camp spots. But yeah, this is the top end of the walking track that we saw down the bottom at the Mayford Old Town site.
So from here we headed back along the King Spur track. We actually went back past our campsite and just up the road a little bit to Blue Rag, and took the Grenadier and Lucas Patrol up to the Blue Rag Trick Point. That will be in the next video, guys. So as always, thanks for watching. Like this video if you liked it. If you watched all the way to the end here, I really appreciate it. And do leave a comment down below. I will certainly respond to all your comments. And I'll see you in the next video, guys. Thanks.